The hat is just the frame, you know. I give a lot to the personality of the person, and I don't want the even if it's my creation, and even if there is a lot of creative thought in it, I don't want this to take the personality from the person, you know, because this is the main thing here, and I want just this headpiece to frame nicely, you know, to give this glow, to give this chic look. To actually, when women wear hats, my mom, she loves hats, and she say, you know, when you create a hat or headpiece, you should think about this woman when she wears it on herself. She feels like a queen. She has a different posture. She straight away her shoulders go, you know, back, and straight away she feels more feminine, more classy, more, you know. And I think she has a point.
Welcome, Eva. Thank you so much for being here today. So tell me more about you, where do you come from, and why are you working in the fashion industry today?
Thank you for inviting. First of all, it's my pleasure to be here today. I come from Belarus, and I grew up in a small town, which is like 60,000 people. And, you know, it's a nice town, but I always knew that I will leave. You know, I will leave for something bigger, and I always had this ambition. So then I did my studies in Minsk, the capital of Belarus, and then to cut the long, boring story short, I moved to Moscow at some point because it was just the time to do new things, to try new things. I was 23, and by the time I developed my business in Minsk, I was a hairdresser. And hairstylist. Okay, sounds better. And basically, I just liked touching things very manual and creative. And when I went to Moscow, I realized that there are some new opportunities, new things coming. And I thought that this will be easy, you know, and because I already did business, I already was successful. I was like, okay, new etap. But of course, a lot of things happened. It went totally different way than unexpected, but it was a great school of life. I spent in Moscow 10 years, 10 beautiful years. And in 2013, I was bored of hairdressing because, you know, it's a nice job, but at some point when you do it for 10 years or so, it's like the idea of something that you create and you're so proud of it and it will disappear in 1 month, and then the person comes with exactly the same mess and you have to redo it again and make a copy of it. It was not very exciting, you know? So I wanted to do something that will not go away, will not disappear in 1 month. And I decided to switch to other form of art, and I decided to make hats.
Oh, I love this part.
Okay, yeah.
That's very unique. I feel like, you know, it's not that common to create hats. And when we think about hats, you know, we think about something very classic. But I know that your hats are not this kind of hats. It's like haute couture.
Haute couture.
So tell me more about, you know, those hats.
How did I start hats? It's just like I went to London, and it was supposed to be a romantic trip, but 2 days before the trip, my boyfriend did a very bad thing.
Oh no, I'm
and
sorry.
we broke up, and I was like, okay, I was going to have a romantic trip, but as now I have all this time, so what should I do, you know? And I decided to take short courses in millinery. Millinery is the word in Old English, which means every kind of form of hat or headwear, anything you put on your head. Either it's a hat or a fascinator, they call it, or a headband or a tiara. So I did a short course in millinery, like for 1 week, and I was fascinated. You know, I was in England. They call it that you were beaten by a hat bug. Ça veut dire to say that when you got this passion for creating hats, like you start making it and you cannot stop.
Yeah.
And I was beat by a hat bug. And I started making these hats and I couldn't stop. And then I took some short courses in Paris with another teacher. and both of them, they were like private studios. And then I went back to Moscow and started developing myself for 8 years already.
Wow, that's very amazing. I've seen like some of your pictures, and it's very unique. Could you describe some of your hats, for example? Because for people who like don't know like fashion at all, they don't know how to think about the special accessory.
When we talk about the hat, people normally imagine, like you say, like a hat, the one that I came with today, like a simple felt hat.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in haute couture. It means that everything is done by hand. And my first teacher in London, she was a royal milliner. Her name is Rose Corey. She was already like 80-something years old as soon as I arrived. Now she's more. And when I just came, the first question she asked, she was like, "Did you ever make any hats?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Good." So she doesn't have to, reteach,
Yes.
And and we didn't use any glue, any machine, nothing. Everything was done by hand.
hands.
But this is the beauty of it, that you put this effort and you basically control every stitch. So I developed it even more, creating headpieces, I would call them that, rather than a hat. That are unique, that are one of a kind, and each of them is a bit like a baby to me, because I spent so many hours creating it, that I can really say that it's a work of art.
It's creative. It's a lot of creativity. Like every piece is unique.
Yeah. Every piece is unique. And on the top of it, because I was a hairdresser for 10 years, I really understand the face and how a hat should go with the face. So I don't really create it apart from a person. I create it, basically, I used mostly my own head,
Wow.
sitting in front of the mirror like all the time. And I would put it on myself and every time look in the mirror how it goes with the face.
Yes.
So that helped me not to make any mistakes that later when I did big shootings for magazines like Vogue, Officier, Harper's Bazaar, like really top magazines, they always looked good in camera, because I worked with mirror. So, and went well with the face. So and so it's more like creative pieces, and I do a lot of before the pandemic we had more events, red carpets, marriages. Sorry, we did beautiful shootings in a castle near Paris. Worked with celebrities of all sorts, with stylists, with. It's an interesting journey, know. At the same time, it's not easy, but it's fascinating and it's worth it.
So you work with big companies and some celebrities. Could you name some of them? Or?
I started everything in Moscow in 2013, and since then. I'm not sure that the Russian celebrities will tell you a lot, but for example, Natalia Vadianova, she has my piece. She's the wife of Antoine Arnault.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, the Russian model.
Yes,
but they live in Paris, but she's Russian because one of my clients, she's Russian, and she's her friend, and she talked to her about my brand, and she liked it, and in the end of the day, she got like a piece into her collection. And other celebrities that they offered me to make a hat for Rihanna, for Daphne Guinness, for Nikki Hilton, for we did the shooting on Monica Bellucci here in Paris with my hat for Numero magazine. I have quite some, people writing me. And there is an artistic side of it, and of course, it's a pleasure to know that your hat was on Monica Bellucci or something, But on the other side, I think my favorite is to work with just normal people.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of natural respect and good energy, and I really like people. I really like genuine people, and giving them this kind of like a beauty, and that they wear it and they look good. For me, it's the biggest pleasure, actually.
Wow. I'm very surprised. Like it's amazing the way that you create like a bonding with the person.
Yeah.
Like it's more than just, you know, like doing something, giving something. It's a whole process of, you know, giving advice depending on your face, if you have big cheeks or not, for example. No, it's like, I think it's very interesting the way.
It's just, the head is just the frame, you know. I give a lot to the personality of the
Yeah.
person, and I don't want the, even if it's my creation, and even if there is a lot of creative thought in it, I don't want this to take the personality from the person, you know,
Yes.
because this is the main thing here. And I want just this headpiece to frame nicely, you know, to give this glow, to give this chic look. To actually, when women wear hats, my mom, she loves hats, and she say, you know, when you create a hat or headpiece, you should think about this woman when she wears it on herself. She
Yeah.
feels like a queen. She has a different posture. She straight away her shoulders go, you know, back, and straight away she feels more feminine, more classy, more, you know. And I think she has a point. And it's a pity it has kind of disappeared, you know, from
Yes.
fashion. I did my diploma work here in Paris. I did masters in luxury and art when I arrived in 2018, and my diploma work was actually history of hats.
Okay.
Yeah, from my beautiful
amazing.
university, ESA. And it was so interesting. I literally spent the whole summer every day in a library in Rue Richelieu, in a beautiful library, of course,
Yeah.
reading all books about fashion there and
Yeah.
trying to find any sort of information about hats. And it's fascinating, the story. Like, for example, did you know that Jacqueline Kennedy, she had a really big hat, and the famous pillbox hat that was created by, I think it was Hustler, the designer for her, is just to cover the size of her head so people will not see, like, you know. So it was, and it became an icon, you know. So this sort of like particular facts, it's really interesting. And I can say that headwear, like a hat, is a very powerful accessory
Yes.
too.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a silhouette. You know, it's a
Yeah.
final piece. Something very important. In fashion, we talk a lot about the silhouettes, and I think the hat is just, you know, the final one.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's funny the way that you explain that. It's nice to see, you know, on big, you know, celebrities and stuff. But you really like to come back to the natural, like bonding with people. But you also have been like on magazines, right? Like
yeah.
many covers. And, like,
Covers, yeah, and
How,
magazines.
I mean, is it not weird when you see, like, you know, your creation, that you create your own, you know, creativity into, you know, the whole world? You know, it's like,
Is it? You know, not even that, but
Yeah.
the first step when you start creating something, and then you have to show it to the world.
yeah,
And you're kind of like, you're thinking whether people will like it or not like it. And when you first post it on, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, or website, on some social medias, and you see the reaction of people, it's like your heart is trembling, and you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But I would like it. And then you just let it go, and you say, okay, I created it. I see it as beautiful. And of course, when you see people saying, oh wow, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's just the kind of the feedback, you know, on your work. And you shouldn't be scared, even if this feedback is neutral or negative. It's still a feedback, you know. So with the magazines, I look at it the same way. Like, if they like it and they want to style it, and normally I give the full freedom to the stylist. I never interfere, like, oh, I want it like this or like that. I want them to put their creative input too, you know, into that. And sometimes I was really surprised with the result, and I was like, "Wow! I never
Yeah.
thought actually to wear this hat with this outfit, but I like it, you know."
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
especially, I worked a lot with different stylists from Spain, from America, from England, from Russia, from France, and every country has its own kind of taste
Yes.
for beauty, for fashion, and it's interesting to see how they play with that. Now I still do the shootings, not as much as before, because my portfolio is already very strong and I have a lot going on at the moment and projects and things. I'm trying, I'm developing different sites, and it's interesting how it will go, you know, especially now that you know that the time is a little bit different.
Different, yes, exactly.
So
So when you think about the future into fashion, like, what do you, how do you imagine like the future in fashion? Because it's changing a lot. People think more about, you know, like the value of something, because for years it was a lot superficial sometimes. But now I feel people want to come back to authenticity. And do you think like how it could change in the future? Like,
the thing is, yeah, you're right, because it's changing a lot, and people are they started valuing even more comfort now, because they spend a lot of time at home, you know.
Yeah.
And there are no big events now where you can really dress up, you know. Psychologists, they still advise people to still dress up even at home, just to keep the mood and everything. But I think the future of fashion is, at some point it will be more digital, you know,
Yeah.
like it's happening now, just for protection of people. There's less contact, which is a shame, but what can we do, right?
Yeah.
And then also, I think there will be a lot of fusion projects. Like, for example, now I do a project with a Lustrerie in Paris, and it's a gallery of, it's a brand actually of Régis Mathieu. He makes amazing lustre, like chandelier and everything about light. He loves light, you know. And I was so impressed by his work, and it's quite rare because I love art and I see a lot every day in museums and galleries, but what he does is really close to my understanding of beauty. And we decided to make a collaboration of his world. So I will be inspired by his universe. And you would say, what is the what is in between fashion and lustre, you know? But what we
Yeah.
decided to do, yeah, exactly. Like,
That's
where is the
amazing.
connection
Yeah.
here?
I love it.
And we decided, like, it was his idea to make kind of like heads that they can lit up and being like a home decor, like home light. And I create some couvre-chef, some headpieces made from crystals from his lustre.
Okay.
And so when you put it on this head, which is lit up, it will give ambiance to home. And because people spend so much time at
Yeah,
home
at
now,
home.
it will be like double function. And then they can take it off and put it on themselves too, you know?
Okay.
So he told me, for example, if you create one-of-a-kind piece and you spend so much time on it and a person buys it with a lot of money, it will be a shame to put it in a wardrobe, right? And nobody sees it. What if you expose it in a nice way? And so a person can enjoy it every day, actually, at home, and at the same time wear it for an occasion. And I was like, interesting idea.
Yeah.
So it will be a collaboration project, and we are hoping to make to open the exposition this March. Hopefully, with the COVID situation, it will be okay, and it will last for 3 months, and everybody can come and visit and see the lustre of Régis. And at the same time, my creations that were inspired by his universe, and to see the transition of like art and fashion together. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about this project because it's kind of a new twist. And I think that beauty is kind of universal. You know?
Yes.
So you can find it in fashion, you can find it in art. So I think now it's the era of adaptation and fusion for fashion.
Wow, that's very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing everything.
You're welcome.
Do you have any advice maybe for, you know, people who wants more than, you know, just doing maybe one common job. You know, sometimes you feel like inside of you that you are an artist and you want to do something different. What kind of advices would you give to this person? I know it's hard, like a question.
It's not really hard. It's very clear and simple. You know, even recently I was talking to a friend pretty much about the same thing, and we were listening to Freddie Mercury, like the Queen, you know.
Wow.
And I actually like the movie a lot because it tells the story of a man who decided to follow his passion. And of course, it's not for everybody to move the crowds, you know, to be on the stage in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But in a way, this is it. Like, you have to follow your heart, but at the same time, of course, there are two sides, one practical and one creative, you know. You shouldn't just do only things that you have to do just to support your daily needs, and that's it, and just put your dreams on the shelf, you know. And at the same time, you shouldn't, and I totally kind of, like, I totally believe now in this, you shouldn't be a total dreamer, because then again, nothing will happen. You can have your ambitions, you can be trying, you can be like a free artist, but you will never have money, you will never have, but it's true,
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
every artistic person, they went through this etap, you know, through this stage where they were like, okay, I want to do art, I want to do projects, I want to do my passion, but how do I combine it with the daily life, you know? And so I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, and what works well, even for the moment you have the job that you don't really like, but you have some hobby that you like, you should try to put some more time to develop it. And it's always an effort. People are not born geniuses. Like, we all have like a part of it, and I really believe in that. You just have to understand what you really like. Listen to your inner child, because children are open. They don't have this, you know. And try to put like little by little, a little bit more effort, the time that allows you to do so, having even your normal job, and then who knows, to see. Maybe it will overgrow, you know, at some point. And if you want to make it a business, then listen to business podcasts, read books about people who succeeded in that. Like, I love a book about Bill Gates, about, you know, like all these people who succeeded, and they started from a small idea. So there's always a way, you know. So I would advise people not to be afraid. Just follow their kind of inner feeling, what they want to do, but at the same time, try to find the solid ground. Which this is hard.
Yeah, this is hard.
Yeah.
But when we like see your story and also where you come from, that's very powerful. Also, that, you know, you're very international and you come to Paris, like, you know, the city of fashion and creativity, kind of, and in your own studio, and then you just put effort on it, and then you put like everything in you, you know, like all your passion and stuff. So it's very powerful. Your story is amazing.
Thank you. I just would really want this story to inspire other people. First of all, not to be scared, because I'm the same as them. I'm as like the same normal person. I don't have wings. I don't have a halo. I don't have a tail. You know, I'm the same. I'm just, something inside of me keeps pushing, you know, and giving the motivation. Even sometimes you feel down and you feel like, okay, how should I do it? Like, what will happen? Each of us now, especially in this situation, we are worried about what's gonna be, you know, even the big ones, you know. But you just have to stay a little bit more cool, a little bit more chill, and try to just do. Action is always an answer. And one day it will
work.
It will come.
Thank you so much, Eva.
You're
Such
welcome.
a pleasure. I feel like we could share forever. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.